Deixa eu instalar again und ich mit das. So,
Reish Nun Tes.
ich mit das. Ich mit das. Also ist die Grünung waren. Ich mit das. So it says, so we're talking about what bracha means. That bracha, one second, maybe Reish Nun. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Reish Nun. We already went to the second page. Forgot. So yeah, on page Reish Nun. Not Reish Nun now. Confused. Reish Nun. Anybody remember? Do you remember where we were up to yesterday? Confused.
I was out, so I remember.
Who else remembers? One second. I forgot what. Yeah. No, Bill, I spoke about the Bill yesterday. That's correct. Okay, so I'm sorry. So, oh yeah, I'm sorry. We top page. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Top page Reish Nun Aleph. Top page Reish Nun Aleph. He speaks about the mile of that there is Birurim and Matal mile. That's right. We spoke about mile Tachtenim Beichin. That's what we spoke about yesterday. So top page Reish Nun Aleph. 4 lines from the top. וזה הביר בדרך ממטל, מה לא? יש בזה איסן שמגיע לשור שמוכר עצמי the color חייזר לקדמוס. Yeah, that's the last thing I think we spoke yesterday about. That there's an oil, when the oil is nimshal directly, it has one power. When chayzer, when you have the reflection, the mirror, then it's chayzer lekadmus. So that's a marshal on the fact that it's a madrega of what comes to yigia, the level of the gilui to come to yigia, to effort, you reach much deeper. That is the union of the bill. That's the bill on Nef Shabam is bederach. What is he calling it here? Bederach islapsh. Kayadua, that's what they have to do. Kayadua, be'efa shel lechem nashamayim lechem min ha'aretz. He's going to new things. There's lechem nashamayim lechem min ha'aretz. We all know it says they get to the man in an imam to lechem min hashamayim. The man is considered lechem min hashamayim. That's where it came from heaven. The regular bread is lechem min ha'aretz. So by pashtas, what type of bread is higher? Lechem min hashamayim. It comes from heaven. But the real thing, the lechem min ha'aretz me'uba b'yosef. There's a mile in lechem min ha'aretz. Agam shalach nashamayim gava yosef. And the word me'uba, I'm not sure what it means me'uba in quantity. Me'uba means it has an advantage of lechem ha'aretz has a mile of lechem nashamayim. Why? Agam shalach nashamayim gava yosef. Pashas lechem nashamayim is higher. It says all the miles of the man. We read the Chumash. Rashi and Chazal talk about the man lechem nashamayim. So it's gavei yosef. Nivla beivorim, kalachat toyim boy. kommen der Meiles in Mann. Groß, komm kann sie über da wird Atmosphäre da Isbelech. Also it says in Mishnah, over that the Atmosphäre Isbelech. When can you really be satisfied? Dafka over that Atmosphäre, which means when the lechem comes in the arts, which it says sometimes, for example, when they get the man, the pasuk says, "Vayancha vayarivecha vayachilcha saman." And Chazal said Pshat that even though the man was like a very high level, but there was no real the Isba. There was not a sphere because it didn't have the. I mean, there's a few ways to look at it, but here he's talking in a very general concept that I think it's comes to even that most only this can bring a sphere. So that's the mashal for man. So he says, "Al derz," and again the nimshal we're speaking about biurim. גם, זה בזח, בבירורים, בדרך כלל מטה למעלה, יש איסר שמגיעים לשרש מקרץ. Just like when you get the lechem, there's an isra, there's an advantage in lechem in הארץ, אבל lechem in השמיים. The pasuk says that the masa is belechem, that the real sphere, the real satisfaction, can only come through success, through of lechem which comes from the earth. The same way, now that's the real build, the ultimate build that takes us to the what he calls the shiur shemakatzmi, is only to belong on matalamayla. He said earlier there was the build on Nefshabam, is the build oil maim tachtein beichin. All these avedis matalamayla they takes you higher. But zeh that maim alazal now we keep him his bar. So the same concept. There's the mila in Avedis Abirut. There's a mila in Lechem in Haaretz, and there's a mila in that. That's the meaning of the expression Chazal. Now mikipem is that the river. Where did it get blessed from? Where does it get the source of its water? Mikipem from its source. Was meint das? Es ist in einer Sense begashmus. Rashi says, Rashi misaloi umekeire. Kippur means misaloi umekeire.
Sell as a rock?
Yeah, from the rock. That it gets its strength from the rock. In second, let me see. What is this? One second. Where's the Gemara? One second. Now, so Gemara is in the door in other actually one second, some other one places. Yes, in the door. The talks about the napos. There's a halach, there's a halach when you get to if he can travel in a river, because before we know that you can't make shamim, that Allah in Ilchis Tvil and Mikveh make shamim can only travel in them if they stand in one place. If they move, Zeichelin, if it moves, it's not Metaher. Schenken may mayon is metai also bezoichli. So that's a major difference of so that's why sometimes you cannot tevel. Let's say you cannot take your kalim and go to a lake. Lake is not lakes that move. Go to a lake after the rain and table because it's moved. The water is moving, so it's not good. So here the Gemara says that now plus we keep him his bow. Now the source is not from the main mayon. It's not from the main mayon. The mele we keep him. It comes. Sorry, it is keep him is the main mayon, the source. Okay, that's what the halacha says. And no, it's one of these discussions here. I'm going to get into all the details, but that's a general point here. That Shmuel says,
What's a minor of the sudden? It's
what?
isn't the matar b'mashu?
Exactly. If it's a Mikipim Mizbach means that particular no, we're talking now post, Mikipim Mizbach means that Robon Neifen Azechnet. He allotted table because the main water is from the Mayan. I think that's pshat. It's not sure. I think that's pshat over there.
You're saying, Rashi, misaloi umekoiroi.
Yeah. Misal it's from its source, which is from the from not from the rain. Of course, Stam just understand the meaning of the word. When again, what does it mean to us? No, it is a mushroom. Right? The no gets it's basically it's a diuk. The ikar diuk is the word mivli. The bracha. The chum in the concept of mivrich means that the bracha comes from the source. Again, so the point here is that not from the rain, but from the Mayan. That's a pshat, like I said. The Rashi says, Misal Mekayim. What does it mean to us in our discussion? What we derive from this Gemara is that what mivrich, that the same is borach, means from shiur shemekayim. But that's neget to know. In no, it's neget to what no. No b'chinas bina. No is bina. The inexiv no b'chlal is bina. The inexiv the remes of no is bina. It says in Kabbalah. What's the remes? Exiv also in today's parsha. But no yetzem eid lashon sagon. Today's parsha discusses the fact that the Noah, there was a river that came out of Eden to water the garden. The Eden explains Kabbalah that in this pasuk Eden and Gan, the Eden of Chochma v'No Bina, Eden Loshen Ma'adani, Loshen Taino. That's Chochma. Chochma is connected to Taino. V'No Bina. The Bina Nika Cheves Ano. Bina is called No. The Cheves Ano. The expression Cheves Ano. Parshas Vayishlach. Vayimlach, I think, Shol Mir Cheves Ano, one of the Melachim. So No is connected to Cheves, and Cheves means wide, and the opposite of narrow. Shbo beribo is pashtus. The concept of a river is the fact that it's very expensive. It means very wide, not narrow. The Gidamai and the Chachma. What was it? Gid? The little the vein, okay, the vein of the spring. Chachma, that's the Baruch Hamavik, Seichel Chachma, the spark of innovation. That that's only a nekuda. It's very narrow. Al derech mea sheloim shalach ma'alat la'ad. That's a pasuk that mea sheloyach. The Mayan Shaloach in Yerushalayim, that it's not a huge flow, it's very slow, it drips, Chachma is also in the way of Nekuda, the Remez, the way Mea Shaloach flow, they start very narrow, like a Matbeya, which is called Issa, which is a very small, round matbea.
What does that mean practically? Mea shiloach, the way that we know today, it's not hilchin lehat.
It's first of all, I guess the original, we only know that shalach we know is already maybe the next step. Maybe the source starts very small. That's what it means. Yud. Okay, we spoke about it. I don't remember I couldn't find the source why Isa is Dafka Yud. Maybe just it's like a small, a round circle which is similar to Yud. Maybe there's only connection they found. The Yud Chochma Shebnas Nekuda. See, brought a few sources to the point, which it's not negate to us. Here he wants to bring out that Bina is no, but in order to explain that Bina is no, there's a contrast between the negate Chochma versus Bina. Bina Baba is Pashtus, or reporting, or Besvoris, or Besbein. So Bina versus Chochma is Nakanoho versus a Maya. Maya is very narrow and slow. Bina is very wide and with an abundance, with a lot of things. He says it's pashtus, it's reporting, it's besbein. That in the level of Bina means it's very everything is wide and expanded. Mele. So he starts doing that. It's all the time that he's in the middle of explaining what does Nam keep a method. So now as Bina, and Bina is very expansive, wide. The MS, the point is, wants to make us koyach habina gavoy yesem achachma. The koyach habina, that attribute, the power, the strength of the bina, of understanding and comprehend, the development of the bina, it really reaches higher than chachma. We see it in our experience. If a person wants to really understand, comprehend all the details of an idea, of an intellectual concept, he has to dig deeper to understand it deeper. Because the Nekudas scholar, that's Seichel in the original spark of the innovation, you get the general point of the intellectual idea. There's a very general knowledge. There's no details. There's no specifics. Today, we talk about daily srachim. It's a seichel. In order to reach it deeper, not to reach it, in order to expand it and explain all the details, he has to connect to the deeper part. It might support him, yes. The deeper you go, you find more more details. I mean, I think it's like a standard thing. You're a shiur, a person gives a shiur in a Gemara, let's say. Say this. Let's say in a Gemara. So there's a lot of, let's say, there's a lot of the details of the sugya. In order to really have a good understanding of the details of the sugya, you have to that way that's more or less really standard way. The shiur is that like it shiur. Well, that's when I even teach to others, also to yourself. You have a lot of details that don't make sense and you don't get it. In order to understand them, you have to dig deeper. What's the inner? You have to figure out what's really the core concept. The deeper you dig, then all the details fall into place. The puzzle is resolved, so to speak. So, in order to resolve all the details of the puzzle, you have to get deeper to understand the underlying principle. So, the deeper you understand the principle, the more all the details are more explained, more fall into place. Same thing here what he says. The details work out more better when the understanding is deeper. So all this is to make the point. That Bina is really high. The source of Bina, the source, the root is higher than Chacham. The Chacham is lower. So there's a sech. The Racham is a sech. It's a kasha atzmalayim. No, it repeats the same thing twice. I don't know why. I'm talking. It's a hanochas. I'm not being tied. Chosh, kasha atzmalayim. I got my spotting yes. I need to be everybody so Chacham. Wait a minute. It almost feels like it repeats the same words twice. I'm not sure. Wait a minute. Is it possible? Is it a petition? Yeah.
It's a hanocha.
Yeah,
It means that nobody saw it.
The hanocha means
Rebbe
doesn't say that it's mugad. Hanocha means that it looks to me like the same words are repeated twice. Maybe it's a typo here. Let's see.
It's built in Mugad. That's what it means.
No, not basically somebody. The Rebbe Rashab said the mind. Somebody wrote it down. Most of my mom said the Rebbe Rashab wrote it himself. He wrote this. Is hanocha means that somebody he said and somebody wrote it down. He listened to him and he wrote down what he said. Wait a minute.
But nobody saw it. Not even the Friedrich Rebbe.
He don't. He doesn't say it. Yeah, you're right. 1 second. So, almost looks to me like this. Maybe there's a same language. Twice. Let's check it out. Yeah, it's not some. It doesn't bother me so much. Just he repeats the same thing twice. Looks like I'm just saying words. They said earlier, "Kol shukasha atzmalayim keisarim." What's supporting the Yisrael? They said again, "Kol shukasha atzmalayim," because almost like saying, repeating the same words twice. Maybe it's a typo. Cholif, Miguel Yanenu. Miguel Yanenu, the point that he's making here, which is really the strength in the point that he made earlier. Earlier he spoke about Toifanim and Beruim and Toifanim and Lechem, that the lower one really reaches higher. So he just says a similar thing in when you get to Chochma Bina. That Bina is below Chochma. There's Chochma and Bina. Chochma means the innovation and Bina means the understanding of the details. But really, the lower one has a higher source. That's the general point. Bina is not a direct, just a continuation of Chochma. It's its own talent. Person can be a big innovator, but he doesn't really understand the details so well. So it's a different talent, a different parts of Latzman. It's not just a direct expression of Chochmah. It has its own faculties. And the raya to that is from the Lashon Zohar. Chochmah Bina Nikoin train range Lemistar. Lashon Zohar is Bina is train range. Two colleagues, two friends that they're separate. I mean, say somebody, somebody are two means they're equal. It's not one is. It's not like a child and a parent or a student and a teacher. You can call them train range. If it's a student and a teacher, so the only anything the student has is from the teacher, or in other ways, other thing the child has from the parent. So it can call them train range. They're not two equal colleagues, two equal friends. One is just comes from the other. If the fact that we call Chochmah Bina train range proves that Bina has its own unique source. The ill of all means the source, ill of all is cause and effect. The cause automatically turns into an effect. When we say that Chochmah, the Bina is Makabel Chochmah, doesn't mean that the Bina is a direct expression of Chochmah. It's two separate entities, but they're united. There's enough the expression in Zohar that Abba ve'Em Chochmah Bina zivugay todi. They're always connected. They're always in a state of in a state of being connected to each other.
So, but there are two different powers or two different faculties, but the concept that they work on it is the same. In other words,
yeah. They work together about the same thing, but it's not one of the total expansion of the other, but they are two separate
powers of the nefesh.
Right. Yeah. So that's what he said. So we and what the point is making, he wants to make is that Bina, it's a separate entity and it has a source above other than Chochmah. It has its own source, its own shiur shemakar atzmi. Agam shegam ze yesh b'Chochmah gam ken koich ha'isachvus. So Bina means Bina is the koich ha'isachvus, the koich to expand, to go into detail. Gam Chochmah also has that power. Koich ha'isachvus zein avein b'Chochmah. The expression in Sefer Yitzirah, avein b'Chochmah v'chakam b'Bina. Understand with wisdom and be wise with understanding. So we say avein b'Chochmah. That Chochmah also has avein. The truth is, Oven B'Chochmah is the highest level. In Chochmah Gufa, the Avona Sheb'Chochmah is the higher level. Emes Yedua, now he's going to go more deep to explain it better. The truth is, the Koich HaYisrachvus, that's what he calls now the Koich of Bina M'Tisrachvus. That's make it wider and take up, expand, taking all the details. Nim Sham Koich HaMachna Shamala B'Chochmah. The source of the ability to be in a state of expanding, the source of it is in the level which is called koyach hamaskil, which is above chach. That above the state of chachma. In the above koyach hamaskil, there's no seichel. I mean, it is koyach hamaskil. Above chachma, it's not seichel. It's koyach hamaskil. Koyach hamaskil means the ability to understand and to be wise. Like I said a few times at the Mashal, we say a good kop. Koyach hamaskil. It's not the actual seichel. But that itself is not in the state of nekuda, but in the state of israchus.
But Chachma Maskil is the power behind the Chachma or Bina?
Yeah. Koyach HaMaskil is above Chachma, and it says the Yisrachmus, it's the source of both, really. But the Yisrachmus comes from that level in Koyach HaMaskil, which is above Chachma.
And Chachma comes from where?
Chachma comes also from Koyach HaMaskil, but not from that aspect of Koyach HaMaskil. Well, that's what he's going to say in a minute. Shem Shumakal asked the Sichim Nevi'is Chadosh is Shumakal Namakal Koyach HaSachmas the Bina. So, in other words, Koyach HaMaskil is the potential for both Chachma and Bina, but it has two separate paths. One path is the path of Chachma to be able to innovate. What he say, La'askas cause of his Chadoshes, innovation and creativity, what we call modern terms. And then it also is the source of Chachma, of Bina, just to understand, to break it down into details. So the Koyach HaMaskil is a source of both. But he said that was. But once he wants be'emes, what he really wants to tell us is Shorish Yisrachmus Ilaman Koyach HaMaskil. That's the point. That the Yisrachmus is even higher than Koyach HaMaskil. Va'ayna ma'avira dal gabe kuma dara dachafi al roiches timor. That comes from the Madriga, which is called in Zohar. We spoke about it. That in Zohar describes the Madrigas in Kosla Milo, compares it to the way the brain is in the skull. There's Moyach, there's Moyach Timor, which is a higher level in Moyach. There's Kum means the membranes on top of the Moyach. There's Avira, the Shafi al Moyach. It means there's an ear, which is the chafia is like we just said in pasuk about chefes. It hovers over the kum. Okay, that's the description of that madrega in Zohar. But when you get to us, it means shazam.
This is the source of Moichas Timor. This is the source of Koyach HaMaskil. Is this the source of Koyach HaMaskil?
The source of Koyach HaMaskil. Right here it says L'mayla MiKoyach HaMaskil. I think Meches Timor will be Koyach HaMaskil, and the Avira is the L'mayla MiKoyach HaMaskil. Maybe it's the source.
You have to say it's the source.
Yeah. One second, but look what he's going to bring a mashal, which is an interesting mashal. We see in real life the choice when the mind should be in a state of muscular skulls, and when not is not the seichel itself. There's a state of madriga above the seichel that makes the decision. So he calls it sheyesh koyach hamachriach b'nefesh. It's an interesting terminology. There's a madriga in nefesh is above the koyach hamaskil. He calls it koyach hamachriach b'nefesh. It's a koyach that decides, so to speak, makes a decision whether you should the mind should apply, should be muscular scholars or not. That's above the koyach hamaskil. Shom koyach Yisrachmus. So that's how he breaks down the madrigas. So the madrig again. Let's put it in simple words. That one second. That there's a koyach hachma, which is the what he calls earlier the what does he call it? The ideas of seichel and muscular scholars. There's a koyach hachma, muscular scholars, which is the innovation, creativity, and that's very narrow and mitipe. It's like then there's a koyach bina, which is to expand it and then take care of all the details, all the pieces of the puzzle, all the various details should make sense, which is called, he calls it here also Israchvos. So he says, bottom, these two parts of the intellectual capacity come from two sources in nefesh. So the way, okay, earlier I said the Koach HaMaskil has both, but the point is making is the Malam Koach HaMaskil. The Koach, the Koach of Chochma comes from Koach HaMaskil. Moichas Timor. But the Koach Israchvos, that comes from a higher level, from what he calls the Koach HaMachriach Shebenefesh. And another name for it is Avir Dal Gabiku. It's the Avir which is above the Moed. So, the concept that we are learning, that we are getting to is here that this idea that the Bina reaches deeper than Chachma. That's what he's saying, which is similar to the idea from before. Taveras Abiru and Umata is deeper than the Lachem Nashamayim. Now, the expansion, the source of it is higher. It's in a higher space, a higher level in the nefesh and also the mind.
So is it a contradiction what he said before? Saying not the Koach
contradiction.
The Koach HaSechel is the Bina comes from Koach HaSechel. Now it says comes from the higher than that. It's the Koach HaMachriach.
The source of the Israchvos in Bina, that aspect that Bina has to be able to take care of all the details, to expand in a wide the breadth, all this, that comes from a Madrega which is higher than the Koach HaMaskil. Yeah, Bina comes also from Koach HaMaskil, but there's an aspect in Bina, the Israchvos, that comes from a higher level.
But the whole Inyan of Bina is Israchvos. I mean, there's nothing. What else is there? That's the Bina.
Okay, so the Lush is shiur Israchvos. The shiur of that aspect. Now the Bina comes from bottom Koach HaMaskil, but the shiur of that Bina. Okay, you're right. So let's say the shiur that Lush says. First he says Koach Israchvos nivshav Koach HaMaskil shamal mechachma. Then it says be'emes shiur Israchvos is l'mayla Koach HaMaskil. The shiur of Bina. In other words, it comes to Koach HaMaskil, but in the Koach HaMaskil Gufa, there's a higher Koach. That is the source of Bina, which it's not the source of Chachma. It's only the source of Bina. The Bina, the Madrega of Bina expresses a deeper place in the nefesh. Deep place in the nefesh, that means that has the ability to actually pay attention to every detail and make sure that all the details fit and make sense and understood. That comes from a deeper place, from a higher place than Chachma. So it's not a steer that comes to Koach HaMaskil. It's like a process. It goes to the Koach HaMaskil, but the ultimate source of it, let them say, it's not. He said, "Be'emes shiur Israchvos." There is Israchvos named Koach HaMaskil, but shiur is the ultimate source of that ability to get into the Israchvos. The ultimate source is from a higher than that. She calls it Koach HaMachriach. Okay, now we go back to understand why the
does it mean? Scholars, scholars. What does it mean?
Can you repeat that?
What does it mean? לפעמים משכיל אסכולס, ולפעמים אינו משכיל אסכולס.
It says that the mind doesn't have, it's not constantly in a flow of intellectual exercise, right? He said, what makes there is a special koyach that makes the decision that now I'm gonna apply my seichel. What's the idea that we have such a special koyach? The fact that it's not a constant flow when it comes to, let's say, breathing, constantly breathing. There's no stop. There's nothing there's no back and forth. There's no fluctuation. The fact that there's fluctuation shows that there's a higher koyach that makes the decision when he should do it and when he shouldn't do it. So that koyach is, which is called, he calls it koyach hamachriach. That koyach is above seichel, because the seichel is the seichel. But who makes the decision when to apply the seichel, when to not apply the seichel? There's a higher level in the nefesh, which he calls koyach hamachriach. What the proof that need a higher koyach is the fact that the following any mask. Let's try a different way. If the seichel will be constant, it means the seichel. That's how it begins. Everything begins with the seichel because it's a constant. It's constant machas codes. The fact that sometimes it's not, it means there's something higher than that that makes the decision when to be masked and when not to be masked. So that's proof. It's like a technical proof that there's a koyach here that's higher that makes the decision. So that koyach is higher than seichel. That controls the seichel. So that koyach is also the source of the sachlis of din.
Is it possible to say that this koyach is lav davke connected to seichel?
Yeah. It's not seichel itself. It's the koyach, the source of seichel. Yeah, you said ain't it seichel klal. You just said even koyach hamas ain't seichel. Yeah, you're right. It's not, you can't call it seichel. It's not. I'll be machlit. I'll be seichel whether I should do it or not. It's a koyach that's above seichel. So
it's not. Maybe it's not connected to moichos timo. It's a different angle.
No, it says
that he is in.
That's it. Because the avila, the al gamma is it's not medicine. It's avila. It's a higher state of being. It's a higher entity. Okay, look. To be honest, this thing's a little tricky, but okay, I'm trying to figure it out. All right. So.
Thank you. Very nice.
Koyach.
We'll be back.